The massive global shift to renewable energy. It's one of the biggest stories of our time, right? But there's this really crucial part of the story that honestly often gets overlooked, the role of women. So today, let's dive in and explore how women aren't just participating in this revolution, they are absolutely essential to building a sustainable energy future. And we're going to start with a story. You know, this isn't some high-level policy statement. It's a memory from a 4-year-old girl in rural Zimbabwe. This single sentence from Judith Moreira, who's now the CEO of a company called Landforce Energy, it just perfectly frames our topic. It grounds this huge global issue of energy in a really personal human experience.
And that personal experience, that's exactly where our story kicks off. Because sometimes the biggest revolutions aren't started in boardrooms. They're ignited by a single personal spark.
So for Judith, those childhood walks to find firewood, they weren't just a chore. Think about it. They were a daily confrontation with energy poverty, with deforestation, and even with personal danger. This first-hand knowledge is what fueled her mission to create Landforce Energy, a company that provides clean, sustainable biogas to communities living completely off the grid. You can literally draw a straight line from her personal problem to this incredible entrepreneurial solution.
Judith's story is so powerful, but you might be wondering, is it unique? Is she an outlier? Well, let's zoom out from her personal journey and take a look at the global picture for women in the energy sector. Let's see what the numbers have to tell us.
So here it is, the big headline number from the International Renewable Energy Agency, also known as IRENA. Women make up just 32% of the entire workforce in renewable energy. Now that number by itself doesn't tell the whole story. It really needs some context.
And here's that context. When you compare it to the traditional oil and gas industry, where women are only 22% of the workforce, well, renewables are clearly doing better. They are more inclusive, and that's a good thing. But it also shines a big spotlight on the fact that a major gender imbalance still exists, even in this newer, supposedly more progressive sector. And this is the point I really want to drive home. This isn't just a simple employment statistic. This gap has these profound consequences that ripple out into daily life, affecting people's health, their personal safety, and honestly, our collective ability to tackle climate change effectively.
Just try to wrap your head around this number for a second. 3.2 million people, mostly women and children, die every single year from illnesses caused by indoor air pollution. We're talking about pollution from burning traditional fuels like wood or charcoal for cooking and heating. This is a direct consequence of energy poverty, and it hits women the hardest.
And this quote from UN Women just nails it. It perfectly illustrates why women's involvement is so critical. They point out that women aren't just the primary victims of energy poverty, they are the primary managers of household energy. They have the first-hand experience, they have the social networks to know what solutions will actually work for their communities.
Okay, so if women are so essential to this whole transition, what's holding them back? What's the problem? Let's break down some of the specific hurdles that are preventing more women from powering our sustainable future.
If we go back to Judith's story, her challenges weren't abstract theories. Oh no, they were very, very real. She struggled to get funding. She had to compete against cheaper but much dirtier fuels. And as a woman in a totally male-dominated field, she didn't have mentors and had to constantly fight against gender stereotypes and unconscious bias.
And as this data from a big global survey by IRENA shows, Judith's experience is far from unique. It's actually the norm. The top barriers that women identified across the industry, they're not technical skills, they're systemic. Things like how people perceive gender roles, these deep-seated cultural norms, and biased hiring practices. Those are the biggest hurdles.
Now this slide is fascinating. Just look at this perception gap. While 3/4 of women in the sector say they see gender-related barriers, only 40% of men do. This gap, it's a barrier in and of itself. I mean, if the people in power don't even see the problem, how are we ever going to solve it?
And of course, there's another major barrier: money. As youth advocate Sanjana Chanchal puts it so clearly, the financial system itself is often a huge roadblock. You've got things like loan requirements for collateral that women often don't have, or super complex documentation. It all effectively locks women entrepreneurs right out of the system. Okay, so it's a challenging picture, I know, but the story absolutely does not end with barriers. It's time to shift the narrative to solutions, because women aren't just sitting around facing these challenges, they're actively and pretty brilliantly overcoming them.
So how did Judith Moreira do it? How did she beat the odds? Well, this slide basically lays out her strategy. She built a great team, she networked constantly, she went out and educated the public about the benefits of biogas, she innovated, and maybe most importantly, she was just persistent. This is a practical roadmap for change.
Meanwhile, over in Nepal, Sanjana Chantial is tackling that perception problem head-on. Her project is all about breaking down the stereotype that you have to be an engineer to work in energy. It highlights the absolutely crucial roles for people with skills in law, policy, finance, and business. A thriving energy sector needs all kinds of diverse skills. And the impact of these women-led enterprises? It's global. As you can see here, Landforce Energy's mission isn't just about running a business, it's about hitting key UN Sustainable Development Goals. They're providing clean energy, promoting gender equality, and creating sustainable communities, all at the same time.
Now, on a higher level, organizations like IRENA are providing a really clear policy framework. This table shows some real actionable recommendations. Improve workplace policies with things like equal pay and flexible hours, adapt education to get more girls into STEM fields, support mentorship programs, and establish clear gender targets so we can actually measure our progress.
So, with all these solutions in action, what does the future look like? Where are we headed? Let's finish up by exploring the vision for a truly empowered and sustainable energy sector.
For pioneers like Judith Moreira, the work is far from over. Her goals for Landforce Energy are incredibly ambitious. She wants to expand globally, innovate with new technology, and, this part is so key, help create an entire ecosystem where other entrepreneurs, especially women, can thrive.
And the stakes here, they couldn't be higher. But the potential prize is just massive. According to UN Women, achieving universal access to electricity could lift 185 million women out of poverty by the year 2050. This isn't just about turning on the lights, you guys. It's about transforming lives on a massive, massive scale.
So we end with this thought. The shift to renewable energy, it's happening. That train has left the station. That's a certainty. But a transition that is fair, that is just, and that includes everyone, well, that is not guaranteed. That has to be built, intentionally, piece by piece. So the crucial question we're all left with is, how do we ensure we build that better future? Thanks for joining me.